and she's going to start us off with a little intro to herself and her books.
Oh, hi there, and thank you for having me. I'm Shani Struthers, and I'm the author of 21 paranormal thrillers to date, and one thriller, which was only recently being published. And so, yeah, I've been writing since 2014, I think. So, yeah, it's been a bit of a wild ride, you know.
So, how many different series do you have out at the moment?
I have the Psychic Survey series, which book 8 is due to be published on the 1st of August. I have the This Haunted World series, which is a collection of books which they're all standalones, although they come under the This Haunted World banner. And they are basically, what they have in common is that they're set in and around the world's most haunted places, and they blend fact with fiction. But then, really, all my books do, to be fair. But so the first one in that series is The Venetian, which is set in Venice, which is the world's most haunted city, and also in Poveglia, which is in the Venetian lagoon and is the world's most haunted island, allegedly. And I also have the Reach the Dead series too. Only currently 2 of books in that series, another one due out at the end of this year. And I have several standalones.
Yeah, lovely. Have you got plans for more in the Haunted World series?
Yeah, so as I say, there's 3 in there at the moment. I've got one here. There's The Venetian. There's The 11th Floor. Oh, there we go. And there's also Highgate. I've run out of copies of that. There's also Highgate, set in, obviously, North London's famous Highgate Cemetery. And containing a lot of history of Highgate, actually, that one. And yeah, I do have more ideas for books. I'm toying with the idea at the moment of one set in Grand Central Station. So use, or if not Grand Central Station in New York, a deserted station somewhere. I like the idea of a deserted station, you know, and everything that comes and goes and stuff. So I think there's great paranormal fodder to be had there. So yeah.
Have you ever been tempted to set one up in York?
Oh,
I live really close to the city of York, and it's very haunted.
Yeah, and lots of people have written in to ask me that very question. And I've been to York once. Went around. Is it the Mumbles?
Shambles.
What's it called? The
Shambles. The little Roman road.
That's it. Yeah.
The medieval one, but yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, definitely. I'm open for anything, but I have to sort of go with the idea that's inspiring me at the time. But so I need a return trip to York, to be fair, and get really inspired by it. Well, another place that inspires me greatly is Scotland. There's another series that I write, that I've written. There's only 2 in so far, and there may actually only be 2, and that's Jessamine and Comrack. And they are Comrack follows on from Jessamine, and they are set in the Highlands of Scotland. And it's just so atmospheric, you know. It's such an inspiring place to write about. I love it.
Do you have a favourite series?
Well, I suppose the book I'm writing on at the time is always my favourite. But if I step back and look at it objectively, I think the Psychic Surveys series is my favourite. It's also the most popular. As I say, I'm in book 8, up to book 8 of that now. And I love the characters, and people tend to love the characters as well. So that's nice. Yeah, I love it when I go back to a Psychic Surveys, but they're so easy to write in a way because the characters are all so real.
Do you have a favourite character in the Psychic Surveys?
Yeah, I have Theo. She's possibly my favourite character. She's the oldest member of the Psychic Surveys team, and she's based on my mum, right down to the pink hair. So yeah. So, and she is very like my mum. My mum, who isn't with us any longer, was very interested in the spiritual world and made a lifetime study of it, which is possibly where I get my interest from as well.
Theo and the dog are like my two favourites.
Oh, Theo and the dog. Oh, Jed. Yeah. Oh, everyone loves Jed. Yeah, Jed's brilliant, isn't he? He's such a hero, Jed. Yeah, he's fantastic. But yeah, I mean, I love all the characters. You know, Tortured Ness and naive Ruby, who's fast becoming very unnaive as she becomes more experienced in the spiritual world, and Corinna, who still retains so much bubbliness despite what dreadful stuff she's been through. And yeah, I love them all. They're just great characters to work with.
They were my first introduction to your writing,
Yeah,
the psychic surveys books, and they're genuinely, I really love them, partly because they feel so grounded in kind of real sort of practices.
yeah. Well, as I say, my mum's made a lifetime study of the spiritual and the occult, and was incredibly. I mean, think my mum. They were the same people, sort of thing. She was incredibly knowledgeable about it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and she taught a lot. She taught me a lot about it. I mean, right from young, I knew so much about it. So that all goes into the books. And actually, when I said I want to, because I started off writing about the paranormal, sorry, about writing romance. I wrote 2 romance books, The Runaway Year and The Runaway Ex. Those are my very first books. And they were picked up by a publisher and they did well, and etc. etc. But I sort of didn't want to continue with romance. So I said to my mum, I'm going to do what I love best, which is write about the paranormal. And she said to me, you know, if you're going to do that, that's great. She said, but always make sure in your books that you treat the paranormal world with respect and try and do something a little different with it. You know, so many times it's horrifying and terrifying and scary, and that, you know, ghosts, and you know, everyone runs for the hills and what have you. She said, but the spiritual world isn't like that. So try and portray the spiritual world in a different way to how it's portrayed normally, which is gratuitously, really, and do it respectfully. And that's what I did, and what
Yeah,
I've continued to do, I think.
I think that really shines through. How do you build kind of that suspense then whilst treating it respectfully?
Well, I suppose how I do it is there is a lot of dark in the books, but there's also a lot of light. So I balance the dark and the light, I think, in the books. And so, in effect, they're good old-fashioned ghost adventure stories, but they're just very spiritual as well. And you know, there is a lot of adventure. There are a lot of twists and turns. There is a lot of darkness. There is like, oh my god, what's going to happen next? You know, but I balance it all out. I think where it gets scary in those books is when I talk not about spirits. So the psychic surveys teams are specialists in spiritual domestic clearance. So they you know, they're Ghostbusters really. They go in and if you've got a problem with something in your house, you call them up and they go in and they do what they can to banish the presence. Not banish the presence, actually. They send it off to the light. So they try and send the presence home. Of course, a lot of them are resistant and are not having it. So those are spirits, but where it gets quite dark and quite meaty, I think, with these books is when you talk about non-spirit, the demonic, basically. But again, you have to do it respectfully and you have to be careful. I mean, you can't see it, but my desk is covered in protective crystals and all sorts of stuff, because sometimes really when you write this stuff and you get right down into the nitty-gritty of it, it's quite scary. It can feel very unsettling. You know.
Do you get feedback from sort of pagan readers and things about the?
Yeah, I do. Pagan readers, you know, witches and all, you know, people who practice witchcraft. I'm talking about white witchcraft. Those sorts of people, psychics themselves, spiritualists, all those people. I get a lot of feedback from them, and it's always really positive, saying at last we've got some books that treat this subject with respect. And often people ask me, well, they say to me, you must be psychic yourself. And I always, maybe not. However, I do think that we all have psychic ability. It's in every single one of us. We've all got this sixth sense. In fact, that's explained right at the beginning in the first Psychic Surveys book, which is, here we are, where is it? There we are. The Haunting of Highdown Hall. And that's explained right at the very beginning when Ruby meets a chap called Cash, who they later become involved. Their relationship is something which travels through the books as well. And he's sort of a bit of a skeptic, and but then so many people are, and yet when you get them talking about the paranormal, even the skeptics, you'll often get they get round to saying, well, actually, do you know what, I did have this experience once, etc., etc. So everyone's got it. Everyone's got that ability to sense something otherworldly. It's just some people's ability is more honed than others.
I'm just going to read you some of the questions. Sorry, I was putting my phone on to see who'd said them because they come up as Facebook user.
Oh.
So Tony Millington said hi, and so is Sam.
Oh, hello.
Jane Risden's also said hello.
Oh,
Tony said calm before the storm, which I presume is referring to the football later.
Yes.
And Dawn Keat wants to know, she says, hi, Kaz and Shani, sorry. Psychic Survey series books are awesome. Looking forward to book 8 in the series. Shani, which character would you choose if you could spend 24 hours as them in their shoes? And why?
Oh my goodness.
That's a good question, Dawn.
What a question. It would have to be Ruby of Psychic Surveys. She leads the team, and I suppose whereas Theo's based more on my mum, I suppose she has a lot of me in her, and so would I want to spend time with someone who's me? I don't know, but yeah, I'd spend time with her because obviously her abilities is incredibly honed. She is incredibly talented psychic, and she would be very well. It's never a dull moment when with Ruby. Let's put it that way. So you're bound to have a really good 24 hours. Scary 24 hours, but good fun,
What's your research like for the books?
Oh gosh, as I say, there's a lot of knowledge that is inherent, and I have books and books and books to look stuff up to sort of bolster that knowledge. I go to places. I go on what are called I don't like the term ghost hunt, but what are called ghost hunts. So vigil. Let's call it ghost vigils, to see about connecting with the spirit world. I talk to people who've had experiences. So it's varied and it's quite intensive.
You kind of travelled the world looking at some other places as well, haven't you, that you've based this haunted world on?
Yes. Yeah, so this haunted world, obviously I've been to Venice. I've been close to the island of Poveglia, but you are really not allowed on it. The Italian guards will shoot you. Go on it. But I've been close, and I've been to other islands in the lagoon which are quite like it. Obviously they don't have the asylum on it or what have you, but they're still quite eerie. Those Venetian lagoon islands are eerie. The 11th floor, which is book 2 in that series, that's based on a hotel that I stayed in Pennsylvania called the Genetti. That has a legend to do with the 11th floor. And that was a peculiar place, really peculiar. And I went there, I was in America, and we did a huge detour in order to stay there for the night.
Oh dear, we've got a
series, and obviously I've been to Highgate several times, spoken to the people that run Highgate, etc., etc. So yeah.
So when we can travel again, is there anywhere else in the world that you've sort of got lined up?
Well, the Reach for the Dead series set in America, set in Idaho. Again, I've been to Idaho and I've been to various places around there, and so I'd like to go back to Idaho to get more, just some more little details to put into the books. I know you can do Google Street Maps and all that, but there's nothing like being there and soaking up the atmosphere of a place. And various places in America actually that I want to go to feed into that series and get inspiration for and feed into that series. And I'll go anywhere. I've been to Transylvania. I went to Transylvania a couple of years back, and I haven't used that yet in a novel, so that may well happen. Although I'm not really into vampires, so it wouldn't be a vampiric thing. But there's a lot of that's one of the strangest places I've ever been, travelling around Transylvania. Very strange. Very like stepping back into the medieval ages. It really is, especially out in the rural Transylvania. So yeah, I'll go anywhere really. And I love travelling. That's one of my reasons for being. So yeah, I'll go anywhere in search of a story. When we can travel again. Who knows?
Dawn said thanks for answering the question.
Oh.
Sam wants to know, she's got a new favourite question that she's been asking everyone, which is, what was the last scene that you wrote, without giving away any spoilers?
What was the last scene I wrote? The last scene I wrote, well, it's my new Christmas ghost book. I also do a Christmas ghost novel, not every year, most years, and I've just written this crazy one actually. In fact, I thought I was going to have to bin it because it is just crazy, but actually it's starting to, it's shaping up, shall we say. And so the last scene I wrote was in a house on an island that was basically imploding. I can't say anything more.
Actually, I think it was one of your Christmas ghost stories that I started reading. And then I was like, yeah.
That's the prequel. This is it. This is a scary cover on this one. You see those faces that, well, they're not faces. Only the little girl's got the face. That is actually the prequel to the you don't have to read. It's a standalone. It's prequel to the Psychic Survey series, and it's a lovely little story, which is also a true story. It's based on the Calcomet Italian Hall massacre. But I moved all of that to Yorkshire. So I did. I've Scarborough. So I did. I have written a book set up there. Do you know, I've written so many. I forget where they're all based sometimes. But yeah, so that was set near Scarborough, wasn't it? And I in an old mining town, and so although it's a prequel to Psychic Surveys, it also doubles up as a Christmas ghost story. The other Christmas ghost story I have is Carfax House. That was released last year and did very, very well. So, but my Christmas ghost stories tends to be more novella length, and that did very, very well. Still doing very, very well actually. And I asked the question, what defines a haunting? Okay, so it's not always what you think. My books aren't always what you think they're going to be. So what defines a haunting? That's what that's about. And as I say, I'm working, whilst I'm waiting for edits for Psychic Surveys 8, I'm working on the latest Christmas ghost story. So, which looks like I'm quite prepared to shelve books if they're no good, if I don't think they're up to scratch. But actually, and I was going to do that with this one, but actually I'm thinking, no, I think it's actually started to work now. So.
Sometimes things just need to sit with you for a while for them to work.
The trouble is they can't sit for too long because you have editors, book proofreaders, you have cover designers, so I have deadlines to meet. So it's really difficult to let them sit for too. You can let them sit for 2 or 3 days, and that is literally your limit. And then you've got to get back, and because you've got beta readers booked in as well, all that sort of stuff. So it's quite pressurised sometimes. Just meeting deadlines.
So some other good questions. We've got, do you ever get a break from your characters when you're writing, or do they come to you at all hours?
Oh, they come to you at all hours, literally. This latest one I'm writing, the Christmas ghost story one, the amount of sleepless nights. I'm just lying there thinking, how am I going to make that work? How am I going to pull this thread through and that thread through? And is it just a totally crazy idea what I've written? Because I'm trying to get away from writing traditional ghosts. I like a traditional ghost story, and I will write traditional ghost stories. But I'm also trying to write along the lines of what Carfax House is about. What defines a haunting? Because hauntings can be many and varied. They're not just all about this spirit that's invaded your home or whatever. There's different ways of being haunted. So I'm more interested in the psychological aspect of a haunting, put it that way, which, I'm also interested in psychological thrillers, which is why I wrote my first one, which, coming away from the paranormal. Not that I'll ever come away from it, really, but I might write more psychological thrillers, as this is the one that was released a few months back, Summer of Grace, and that is a psychological thriller set in Kansas, small town Kansas. The tagline is "Small towns can keep the biggest secrets," and again, that's done very, very well. So, which I'm really pleased about, because I was really nervous. I didn't know if it would do very well, because I've got such a the following that I have, my readers, they love the paranormal stuff. So I thought, oh, this is going to really disappoint some, but actually the reviews have been fantastic. So, and it's done well. So maybe I can write a psychological thriller too. Who knows? The proof will be in writing a couple more and seeing how I do with them.
Who designs your book covers?
Gina Dickerson of Rose Wolf Designs. She designs all of them. She formats them for me. She does all my artwork, and she's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. She knows what I want, even if I don't. I mean, I might sort of throw a few ideas at her and just, oh, God, I just don't know. So she'll just do a load of mock-ups, and it's like, yeah, that's what I want. Let's work with that one.
Sam wants to know what the most read book on your shelf is.
The most read book of mine, or just me reading somebody else's?
Who knows? Let's go with both.
Okay. It's probably The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley, which is Arthurian. I was obsessed with the Arthurian era when I was younger, and I read absolutely everything I could get, fiction, non-fiction, and the best of all the books, and they're brilliant books. Bernard Cornwell's Winter King series is another absolutely phenomenal series, but The Mists of Avalon, I think, is the best book I've ever read, and I've read it and thumbed through it so many times. It's amazing. So, of my books, I think because I have got all my bookshelves there with all my books on them too, is The Haunting in Highdown Hall, is the one that's been read the most, I think. The one that started it all.
I was trying to think what the most read book on my shelf was. It's probably Wuthering Heights, because I returned my copy of that because it fell to bits because I read it so much.
I did that for A-level English, and oh my God, I just fell in love with that book, and I read it and read it and read it and read it. But just slightly better than Wuthering Heights for me. It's hard to, it's very little in it, is Jane Eyre. I have read that lots of times as well, and every time I read Jane Eyre, I find something different in it. Something I thought, oh, I didn't realise that, but then it's a bit of a tome. So yeah, so Mists of Avalon, Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights. Most books, I don't reread a lot of books, I really don't reread a lot of books, because there's just so many books out there, new books to go on to, but those, yeah, I've gone over and over. I
reread like my absolute favourite books every now and again, just ones that you just want for a bit of a comfort read.
But I understand that, because just recently I thought, I'm going to read James Herbert's The Magic Cottage again. I read all his again as a youngster. I devoured all his. And I thought, I haven't read him for years and years and years. So I thought, I'm going to start again with The Magic Cottage. And it was like a comfort blanket. I just couldn't wait to get to bed every night so I could, get more more pages read. It was fantastic. So I've got to read more of his, but there's so much to read, and there's so few books that come out, and you think, oh, I must read that, I must read this, you know. But yeah, I want to go back and read more of his.
There's Sam wants to know if you'll be watching the England match. The answer to that for me, Sam, is no.
Yeah. I'll be heading off after this to cheer on England. I'm not a footy fan. I really am not, but I do get quite excited when they get into finals, I have to say. So I watch Saturdays. Haven't watched any before Saturday. I watch Saturdays. I'll watch tonight. And if they make it to the finals, of course, I'll watch that. Yeah.
Whereas I've just been telling everybody that it's the times like this I'm glad I don't have a TV license.
You don't have a TV? Gosh. Wow. Oh, I love a TV.
TV. We do streaming. I just don't have a TV license. We only stream.
Right. Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. You know, at the end of the day, if I'm not going out, if I'm staying in, I just want to. And I've dealt with my story all day, trying to shape it, write it, craft it, whatever you know, whatever the whole edit it. So what I love to do is go into the TV room and just watch something else. You know, watch something that takes me away completely from my flipping stories. You know, something fresh, and I just lose myself. I love it. Mind you, I'm often watching paranormal stuff, especially on like YouTube and all that sort of stuff. So.
Dawn wants to know what the last book you read that actually brought a tear to your eyes was. And she says that book 7 was hers.
Yeah, Promises to Keep. Yeah, she told me that. Yeah, it always brought a tear to my eye, actually, that one, every time I had to read through it. You know, books, there are so few books that make me cry. So I don't know when the last one was. I know the name of the book that made me cry uncontrollably for about an hour, no, about half an hour, maybe, you know, after I'd finished it. And that was a long time ago, but I mean, I really did sob. And that was Catherine Cookson's The 15 Streets. And I love Catherine Cookson. I think she's a genius. And she didn't start writing in her early 40s. And she lived for a while. She's up north, but she lived for a while in Hastings. I've been to her house with the plaque, you know, seen the plaque outside it. And she is a fantastic writer. You know, the amount of emotion that she packs into her books is a lesson for many authors, I think. And again, so inspiring. So yeah, I don't know. So not a book recently, but I do remember reading that book and just being one big soggy mess.
The last one I read that made me cry recently was Hideous Beauty by William Hussey. It's a YA book, and I was sat at work reading it at lunchtime with like tears running.
Really? That's a brilliant title. What's it about? Is it, you say YA, did you say?
Yeah, it's YA. It's about I'm trying to think of how to describe it without ruining the story. It's about a young gay couple, and one of them, something tragic happens, and it's sort of unpicking it.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'll put that on my TBR. Definitely.
It's very good. It's probably going to be on my books of the year, I think.
Yeah. Oh, do you know, some of the YA stuff is fantastic, isn't it? I read The Hunger Games recently. I've never read them, and I thought, no, I've got to rectify that. So I did. I thought they're fantastic.
Although you also need to go back and read Battle Royale, the Japanese novel, kind of inspired them a little bit.
Oh, really? I didn't. But I thought they were just. God, I was blown away by the idea, really. But yeah, everything's inspired by something, isn't it? You know, but yeah, I do love a bit of dystopia. I have to say, and I love zombies. I often wonder whether I could do an apocalyptic novel. You know, and what different angle you could come at it from, because there's some great apocalyptic, not like Wall by Hugh Howey, and the one by Justin Cronenberg, is it? I've forgotten. Passengers, is it Passengers it's
The
called?
Passage. Wool is brilliant. I love that trilogy.
Which one?
Wool. That
Oh,
trilogy, Wool and Dustin.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Have you read Cormac McCarthy's The Road?
Not yet.
It's bleak, but it's genius. Got to read that. It's bleak. It's very, very simple to read, but it's pure genius, I think.
Got to love a good dystopian book. You could do, because you can make zombies with like voodoo magic and things, can't you? And like pufferfish toxin.
Yeah.
I feel like that would work quite well with your sort of quite genuinely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I love that stuff. The Walking Dead is my favourite TV series, and I've just been watching Black Summer, which is also about zombies. My husband thinks it's hysterical that I'm so into a zombie. And I'd be horrified if they actually came knocking, But I love it. So I often think, well, what could I do with this? What could I do with that genre? So who knows? Who knows? How could I treat it differently? Because that's the thing. You want to treat things differently, I think, to really, you want to get your own angle to really get inspired by it. So yeah, maybe one of these days. There's so much on the agenda, and who knows? Got to add to all these series that I keep creating. I'm not creating any more series, by the way. I've got enough series under my belt that I need to add to without creating any more.
Sam just said that I love a bit of bleak.
Oh, you love a bit of bleak? Oh yeah, me too.
It's genuinely true. Absolutely love dystopian fiction.
Yeah.
And all my favourite books are really bleak.
Oh yeah, well yeah, and mine as well. Yeah, you got it. I don't know why. I mean, I'm possibly like yourself. I'm a cheerful soul. I really am, but I just love all things bleak. So it's really, it's really maybe it's done now. Maybe because I am such a cheerful soul, I can comfortably go into that area. Maybe if it was too close to home, you couldn't so much. You'd be looking for the feel good all the time. I mean, especially now. I mean, feel good fiction has gone through the roof, hasn't it? But I can't do feel good. I just can't.
I don't mind it occasionally, but I do like a really good dystopian novel.
Yeah, I like dramatic, something dramatic, something into. Also, with my books, what I like to do, as I say, I blend a lot of fact with fiction, and even stuff from Aleister Crowley, Dion Fortune, other occultists like that, Alexander David Neal. Those, I like to put their stuff in as well. Their take on it. Obviously, they're all credited in the book. They're all mentioned. It's not me saying, "Oh, this is my idea." It's Aleister Crowley came up with this idea. Alexander David Neal, Alexandra David Neal, she was the one that did the tulpas. If you can think something, you can create it. Giving it enough, if you give it enough energy, and that's something that's explored in. Is it book 2 of the Psychic Survey series? Rise to Me. I think it's book 2. So I like to put a lot of factual stuff in and weave the story all around it.
Have you read about Jack Parsons?
Jack Parsons, no.
He's marvellous. He was a really big friend of Aleister Crowley for quite a while.
Well, should be.
And did like crazy rituals in the desert, but he also founded the Jet Propulsion Lab, or did a lot of work on like rocket science.
Okay. Should be sure. Jack Parsons.
A very mysterious end.
Lovely. Right, I'll have a look at him and add him to my list of things to research.
Interesting, because American as well, so it's quite interesting.
Yeah. So much stuff that is fascinating. I mean, it's endless inspiration, really. And when I started off writing romance, after a couple of books, I thought I'm just going to be writing the same thing over and over. boy meets girl, and and I know obviously romance writers also find ways of doing it, of treating the subject very differently. Of course they do, but for me, I just thought the paranormal world just held a wealth of ideas and inspiration. There's usually very little romance in my books, actually. Sometimes, I mean, there's a romance between Ruby and Cash, which is, but it's not like a sickly romance. I mean, they're sort of more, it's quite down to earth, I think. But
I was going to say, it's quite a real, real relationship, isn't it?
Yeah. Has its ups and downs, and they have the fallouts, and they have the times when they're, really put each other through difficult times. But there is very little romance in my books, and maybe that's something I could toy with as well. You never know. Write a psychological thriller a bit more, but yeah, I don't know. Who knows? The sky's the limit, isn't it? The possibilities are endless, and that's the wonderful thing when you can use your imagination.
Jason wonders if there's other genres that you'd like to write in.
So I've done romance, only 2 books, but I've done romance. I done the supernatural thrillers. So yeah, I've just started with the psychological thrillers with Summer of Grace, and I definitely want to explore more of those, more of that genre. I want to write more over the next 2, 3, 4 years in that genre. Straight crime? I don't think so. I don't think so, because it is so much the psychological aspect that interests me. So a police procedural, a crime book, perhaps not. So no, I think I've got enough to be going on with at the moment. I have got another romance actually on my desktop. I've got about 10,000 words, 10,000 words worth of it. And I sometimes toy with the idea of finishing it off, but so far I haven't gone back to it.
Fair enough. Tony's asked if you speak to psychics and members of the occult as part of your research.
Yes.
We did touch on that a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah, I have done. Yeah. And it is a fascinating world. It is, and I've been to seances. I've done all of that stuff in order to experience it, in order to write about it, and it's amazing. It is an amazing world, and some people just are so spiritual, and they're quite awe-inspiring.
I think it's quite interesting to sort of read about sort of people's beliefs back into the past as well. So Arthur Conan Doyle was really fascinated by spiritualism and wrote some really interesting things. And
yeah, he was. He apparently came back and spoke from the other side, didn't he? There's apparently there's a tape of him coming through in a séance, but a lot of these things are fake. There's a saying sometimes at these séances and all that. There's more plants in the audience than home base. So obviously a lot of stuff. A lot of people are really disingenuous. But yeah, travelling back through the times that the Victorians, etc., so fascinated with spiritualism. I mean, that's when it became trendy, didn't it? And seances, etc., took off. I've written a book. I've also written another series, although they are standalone books, and I'm not sure if I'm going to add to it or not. But that's Psychic Surveys companion novels, and so far there's Blakemore, which is about a haunted house. Blakemore is actually pivotal to the whole Psychic Surveys series. There's Blakemore, there's 13, which is set up in Inverness, and there's Rosamond, and Rosamond is about Ruby's great grandmother, and so that's set in Victorian times when all this sort of interest in spiritualism was at its peak. It was brilliant to write a book set in that time. The tone of it, getting the tone of it right, no mobile phones or anything. you know, it was really good, and that's something I want to do again. Explore that era and write another book set in that time as well.
Well, we're on about the companion books. Sam has asked if there's a favourite minor character that you have that you'd consider giving a story of their own.
I suppose I've done that in the companion book. So Blakemore is a story of Corinna, who, when she was a child, and that she spent 5 years as a child in this house called Blakemort, and the lasting effect it had on her. 13 is about Ness, a young Ness. Ness is in her 50s in the main Psychic Surveys series, but in 13 she's in her early 20s. And Rosamond, as I said, is about Ruby's great-grandmother. And the prequel, Eve, is a young Theo and Ness when they first met. So, you know what everyone keeps asking me, though? Can I do one about Jed, the dog? Oh my God, how am I going to do that? Can he have his own book? Oh, how will I do that? Maybe I'll figure out one day.
I think it's a peril of writing such great characters. I'm a big fan of the Rivers of London series, and everyone asks Ben Aranovich if he'll write one about the servant Molly, and she never speaks.
Yeah.
Like every time anyone asks it, you're like, I would 100% read a story about her, but I have no idea how you'd write it because she never speaks.
That's because you could write it, because obviously she might not speak, but she thinks. So
Yeah,
you do it.
this is a rich internal.
Yeah.
Maybe Jed has a rich internal world.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be in human language, would it? It would be. I mean, I have been thinking about that actually, and how I could approach it. Obviously, Jed is dead. You know, he's a spirit dog, Ruby's companion, and obviously, when he was alive, who did he belong to, and maybe a bond that he formed with somebody, and something that he did when he was with that particular person or something. So yeah, there are ways to come at it. You just have to let your mind mull it over. Things always mull over in the back of your head, you know, and then when it's their turn, they come forward. So yeah, it would be interesting to do that. The challenge.
Yeah. Jason wants to know if you'll write any more Reach for the Dead books.
Oh, definitely. Gosh, yeah, that series will carry on. Yeah, so there will be another one coming out at the end of this year, with a fair wind behind it. I'm getting to really know the characters in the Reach for the Dead. There's Shady, there's Ray, and there's Annie, who are quite an unlikely trio. And I'm getting to really, really like. And I love the American setting, because for me, you can utilize so many great locations and so much great history, you know, in those books. I know we've got great history and great locations too, but it's just a different sort of thing, and it's quite exciting, you know. The second book in that series, which is Cade's Home Farm. The first is Mandy. This is the second book, Cade's Home Farm. And Cade's Home Farm, it touches on all the Haight-Ashbury 60s sort of drugs and, you know, era. And that actually all comes into play in that story. And in the first book in the Reach for the Dead series, it's called Mandy, and it's about a haunted doll. Now, again, how do you treat a haunted doll subject? It's been done so many times, and you've got your real famous haunted dolls like Annabelle, so how do you bring something fresh to the table? But Mandy is a real doll, and I went to visit her in Canada about 3 years ago. She's actually in a tiny little museum in rural Canada, kept sealed in a glass box, and she is scary. So I wrote about her, but I think I have brought something new to the table, you know, with that trope, and it seems that, yeah, I mean, certainly reviews, will say that, which is great. But yeah, it's not quite the story you think it is, and Mandy's not quite who you think she is either.
There's quite a fascination with like haunted items, isn't there, at the moment?
Wonderful, yeah. Psychometry. Just so our hero in Reach of the Dead is Shady Groves, and she has the gift of psychometry. So basically, she can pick something up, and if it's got a lot of energy attached to it, negative, positive, or otherwise, she can sort of try and tune in and read it, and that's how she gets the sort of the history of things and how we go back and delve and what have you into what's happened for this object to soak up so much, why, and how it's affecting those that come into contact with that object. So it's a fascinating subject. I wish I had that gift, but no, I don't.
So tell us a bit more about your psychological thriller.
Summer of Grace. So that's small town, Kansas. It's a slow burn, builds up to a big crescendo, which quite a few of my books do. I quite like the slow burn, setting the scene, and then you go bang. But it's about a girl called Grace. It's about four friends, actually, Grace being one of them, who met when they were 18. They had spent the most fantastic summer together. And then three were going to college. Grace wasn't, because she was new in town. And she was putting down roots, so that her and her family were settling in this small town of Rutherford. And 10 years later, the three have cause to come back to town. But no one's heard from Grace since. In all that time, no one's heard from Grace, despite the fact they promised to keep in touch. And of the three that come back, one develops a little bit of an obsession trying to find her. So it's a story that's told in flashbacks as well as in present day. And the mystery unfolds, it twists, it turns, and then at the end you find out.
What were the challenge? How different was it, sort of writing a psychological thriller to your usual?
Well, I can't draw on all the supernatural aspects that you have, that really can give a book oomph and like nail biting moments that you just want to go, wow, what's going on? What's happening? So I can't draw on all that. I have to draw on real life and make that as. But it was fine. I did really enjoy doing it, but yeah, just not involving the supernatural at all was quite difficult. But it was good, and I want to do more. As a writer, as or actually any art form, artists, etc., musicians, it's only when you challenge yourself that you sort of grow as a writer. So, I could sit here and write book after book, about psychic surveys. Could have 20 of them out by now, and but people do. They write the same book in the same series. They just continue, and that would probably do me quite well if I did that, because there's such an appetite for the psychic surveys series. But I don't want to do that. I want to write different things, and I want to grow as a writer. I want to explore other ideas, and and I may get it wrong. This Christmas story, bonkers Christmas story I'm writing. It may be like, well, I don't like this. I may get bad review. Who knows? But if I don't do it, I don't grow as a writer. So that's what I want to do. Explore different things, not necessarily different genres. But although never rule anything out, but not necessarily different genres, but different ways of treating the genre, I think.
With so many different series, do you keep, this is a question I ask authors a lot, do you keep like a character Bible of all your characters with details?
I'm really, really bad about that, because I don't. I keep it all in my head. I keep everything in my head. I never even used to have a diary. Now I have to, because it gets so full. But and I'm getting older and a bit more forgetful. But I do have character sheets, but it's all in here. I know what they're like. I know what colour their eyes are, their hair, their weight, their everything. You know, I know all that. So there are little things where I sometimes think, oh, I forgot about that. I could have put something about that in or that. But you know, you can't do mention the same old things over and over again in every book. So yeah, but no, I should take better notes is what I'm trying to say.
The Sam has asked my dad's favourite question actually, which is how you manage all the external work like beta readers, marketing.
Oh, do you know, I long for some to just give it all to somebody to do, to you know, all the administrative side of being an author. But I'm very bad at delegation. I always have been. So I'm a control freak, I think, is what that comes down to. As I say, all creatives and formatting is farmed out to Gina, and we work brilliantly as a team. Obviously, I've got editors, I've got a team of beta readers, etc. So they do. It is all delegated to them. But marketing, it all comes down to me, and I'm rubbish, absolutely rubbish at it. I'm lazy. I just want to write. I don't want to market. I just want to write. So I hardly do market. Although I do have a thriving author page and a thriving paranormal group, Shani Struthers and the Paranormal World, which people post in, and we discuss a few things in there, etc. So I do have that. So, but you know, a lot of authors saying, you know, you need to go make more of Twitter, you need to make more of Insta, you need to make more of TikTok. I can't stand anything but Facebook. I can't bear those other ones. Insta, I can just about bear Insta, and that's it. TikTok, I detest, which is awful because actually TikTok is really, really, really good for authors. But it's a time suck, you know. You get on these things, and before you know it, the time's gone, and you think, "Oh no, I haven't done what I'm supposed to do," and then you're working on into the no, I can't. No, I stick with Facebook, and I do very little marketing.
I did not know TikTok was really good for authors.
It's brilliant for Book Talk. Book Talk is amazing. It's if your book now it's mainly for YA and romance and steamy romance and all that sort of stuff. There's a huge appetite for that on there. But yeah, you know, if you it can whose book was it? Quite a famous YA one that I've forgotten the title of it. But anyway, she found herself back in the New York Times bestseller list. What the hell's going on? It's because her book had been recommended on Book Talk, and there's a certain age bracket, although all ages on there, but there's a certain age bracket, and you know, if somebody says read this, they all do. So yeah, We Were Liars. That's the title of the book. I can't remember the author, but yeah, she was like, wow, what's going on? But I'm not sure it has the same paranormal or anything like that has the same effect on there. It is sort of mainly romance, steamy stuff, and YA and dystopian that can really soar because of TikTok. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I might have to get a TikTok.
Yeah. And do hashtag book talk, and then you can go through all the book talk posts and stuff. But you'll be forever buying books.
See, this is a problem I have anyway. I don't need any encouragement.
No, exactly. You don't. It's so. I buy books all the time. I mean, I've got zillions to read. I've got to stop and start reading them. This is the trouble. You know, book hoarders we become, whether that on Kindle or actual physical books.
Do you not though? So my husband has a kind of semi-mean joke where he says I can't be left alone for about 10 minutes without a book, without chewing the furniture.
Yeah.
And I did point out to him in the lockdown that my large collection of to be read books was therefore quite good because it kept everything calm and me sane.
Yeah. Do you know what did that for me in lockdown? Not books. Well, writing obviously always keeps me sane. Jigsaws. I developed a passion for jigsaws. I'm absolutely obsessed with them. So
Yeah, me too. I love a good jigsaw. I rediscovered them in lockdown.
yeah, I've never really done them before, but in lockdown I could not get enough. all my friends were all doing jigsaw swaps. But I'm never without. Before I started writing, I used to read a lot more. Now I only read at night when I'm at bedtime, basically, and I can usually only manage a couple of chapters before I fall asleep, which is a real shame because I used to read voraciously before I started writing.
I am never without a book. Sam says she loves a good jigsaw. Have you got a jigsaw on the go at the moment?
I have the brands that built Britain, so it's all the 1950s shopping basket with all the brands like Bisto and all Lux and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's great fun.
I have got my current jigsaw on the go is a Marvel Impossible puzzle.
Oh no, they're too hard.
All the Marvel characters.
Oh, Impossible puzzle. The clue in that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've made Hulk and Spider-Man at the moment, and that's it.
Oh my god, amazing. Well, I've only been doing them for about a year, so I mean, I've graduated from the 500 to the 1,000, but I have to really love the picture on it, and I just get totally absorbed, taken away, like books, taken away into a different way. That's what it does for me. Allows me to switch.
Yeah, I really like. There are some that you can get at the moment called The World of, and I've got a Sherlock Holmes and a Jane Austen one of them, and they're great because you build them and it's got all hidden characters in.
Oh yes, I know.
And try and spot, and then they give you like an information sheet about them, and you can go and look when you've made the picture.
Yeah. No, brilliant. Yes. They're great. I love them. So yeah, just crack on with them all.
So Sam has said, is it difficult to balance past and present when you're writing? So in the psychological thriller, when you did that and there were flashbacks.
No, it's a device I really like and which I've used several times before. So no, I don't find it difficult. No.
Nice. And she wants to know if there's locations near you or that you know well that you haven't used but would like to in the future.
Near me. Do you know I've used a lot near me? A lot. I haven't used Rye, the Mermaid Inn. I haven't used that one yet. Oh, so much history there, and it's such a haunted building, and actually Rye itself. So I haven't used that yet, and I've toyed with that idea. So yeah, maybe. Yeah, there are always places, and then there are places that you find out about as well. And you think, oh, I didn't know that place had a reputation, and then there's a lot. Lewis is very close to me. It's only literally 5 miles up the road, and that's where the Psychic Survey's headquarters are, where all the team live. And that is stuffed chock-a-block with haunted places. So there's a lot that I've used quite a few, but there's more to come.
I work in an old converted hospital building that used to be a Victorian one, and I'm sure that's probably haunted.
Oh yeah, there must be, even if it's not intelligent haunting, it's residual. There must be a lot of residual stuff in.
Yeah, there's got to be something there, hasn't there, with it being.
Definitely. Oh, as I say, the sky's the limit. It's walls soak up stuff. They soak up, emotions, etc. And even as I say, even if it's not an actual presence, the residual stuff, it sort of reverberates in the atmosphere, and that can be quite unsettling. As unsettling as an actual presence, really. You can tune into it. You can, if you're sensitive enough, you can tune into it.
So we've got about a minute left.
Oh, it's been lovely chatting. Thank you.
I know, it's flown by. Do you want to just give us a reminder, show off another couple of books?
Okay, right. Well, as I say, I'm the author of 21 paranormal novels. I write several series. Here's book 1 in the first series, The Haunting of Highdown Hall. That's in the Psychic Survey series. I write the This Haunted World series too, and that's the book 1 in that, called The Venetian. They're all standalone novels in this series. They're just based in and around the world's most haunted places, and they combine fact with fiction. And I write the Reach for the Dead series, which is set in America, and it revolves around more psychic shenanigans. So yeah, busy.
And that's all that's left to say. Dawn has said thank you both for your time this evening. It's been lovely. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you. And thank you everyone, and thank you for having me. It's been really lovely to talk to you.
You're more than welcome. And we'll sign off now so everyone can go and enjoy the football.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.